Hola, me llamo Ramon Esteves, a.k.a. Martin Sheen, and I'm delighted to introduce this special project. Ventura County's farms and ranches employ nearly 23,000 men and women every year. These farm workers are the backbone of Ventura County's $2 billion a year agricultural industry. Without them, crops would not be harvested and the lush landscape of green fields and orchards would go untended. The average income of these farm workers is about $22,000 a year, yet the average apartment rent in Ventura County is more than $18,000 a year. So this combination of low wages and high housing costs means farm workers must often pool their resources and live in overcrowded apartments or motel rooms or houses. Sometimes they live in garages or sheds that are neither intended for nor fit for human habitation. These circumstances are particularly difficult for the farm workers' children, who often have no access to safe play areas, and they lack the quiet and privacy needed to study and do their homework. They are vulnerable to illness and injury as well because of overcrowded and sometimes unsanitary conditions. The damaging effects on the health and education of these children can last a lifetime. Since 2004, the Ag Futures Alliance Farm Worker Housing Task Force and its partners have been promoting construction of decent, safe, and affordable housing for farm workers. Thanks to these efforts, several such housing developments have been completed in Ventura County, giving new opportunities and new hope to hundreds of families. But much more needs to be done. That's why the task force asked children of these farm workers to tell their stories for this multimedia project. In their own words and photographs, these children provide compelling testimony about the importance of decent and affordable housing. And they make clear that there's a heavy price to be paid when families endure crowded and dangerous conditions. As Cesar Chavez once said, when the man who feeds the world by toiling in the fields is himself deprived of the basic rights of feeding, sheltering, and caring for his own family, the whole community of man is sick. As the son of immigrants and a longtime advocate for farm workers' rights, I encourage you to support the Farm Worker Housing Task Force as it works towards a cure for that sickness. Yes, we can all make a difference. Si se puede. Thank you very much.
Where I lived before, there was a lot of bad people. They used to do a lot of violence.
The neighborhood, it looks like the trash can, literally. It's like there's a lot of kids all the time right there, gangsters, tagging, cops all around.
Where I used to live, like, we only had like one bedroom, one restroom, and it was like really crowded because we're six. And like me and my brothers and sisters was sleep in the room, and my parents would sleep like in the living room. But like our couch was like also a bed, so they would sleep right there. I didn't really have that much friends because like we were scared to go outside because like there was a lot of gangs right there, and they even killed the guy there.
Because basically you don't have space for privacy. So I think it was the only good thing, it was 3 girls, so it wasn't really a problem sharing one room. But it was like we couldn't have friends over because then, imagine 3 of us having friends over at the same time. There was no space, there was no room. Study time, that was also kind of difficult. Somebody would study in the living room, another person in the kitchen, and in the living room. There was no space for that.
Commonly, I see families sharing one room of a multi-room house, and oftentimes it is so substandard that we'll find a family living in a laundry room, for instance, of a much larger house where they're paying rent for just that small space, and you'll have 3 children and their parents sleeping on the floor of a laundry room.
Honestly, I want like at least a 3-room apartment or something because I could share my room, you know what I mean? Like I could share it. I have no problem with that, but I don't feel comfortable sleeping in the living room mostly because of the guy.
The place I lived before, it was really bad because some people came and robbed us, and a lot of kids threw me stuff like toys and rocks. And also because one time, a robber came and they shoot a lady in the head, and we got really scared.
The difference between the surroundings of where we used to live and where we live now, basically in the other area it wasn't as safe, I would say. After it got dark, we weren't really allowed to go out by ourselves, or even go to the car or something. Our parents would always go with us.
There are psychological consequences for children who don't feel safe in their home. The home is a place where all children should feel their needs are being met. It's a safe and secure haven from what's going on in the rest of the world. And for so many of these kids, not only is the indoor aspect of the house or home not safe, but they're also not able to go outside because of what's going on in the neighborhood, and their parents are trying to keep them, safe from those external influences. So that combined lack of safety and security, which is so vital to the psychological well-being of children, again, has such dramatic consequences for their education and for their overall behavioral well-being.
There is a family that we walked in and said, trying to provide them some services, and we noticed there was no furniture. We're like, oh, well, let's get him some furniture. But before we could get him any furniture, they stopped us and they say, no, wait. We don't want any furniture. I'm like, but you don't have a couch. You don't have a table. How do you, what do you eat? Where do you sit down? And they say, well, if you were to bring us a couch, if you were to bring us a chair, if you were to bring us a bed, it will take space, and there will be less people that will be able to come in and sleep in here. So a single 1-bedroom place can be, the quarters for about 2 families, 3 families. And sometimes what the way they're divided is just by a single sheet. And that's how they kind of separate the rooms.
It made, living just us, it made me feel really uncomfortable because when I would read, the only place I would like reading was in the restroom because I had privacy there. That was the only place.
En mi casa es difícil de estudiar porque hay muchas personas y cuando yo estoy estudiando ellos están platicando y no me puedo concentrar. Y luego me equivoco cómo escribo. En vez de escribir una palabra escribo otra. Para leer hay veces que no me puedo concentrar.
En mi casa viven 10 personas. Están mis tíos y sus 2 hijos, y mis papás y mis 4.
But from a psychological and mental perspective, I think the most profound adverse effect I see in children is developmental delay. And this was particularly striking to me in my practice when I noticed that many of the infants that I was caring for from farm worker families were not crawling or walking or speaking at the same times as other age-matched children. And it wasn't until I started doing house calls I realized there was very little space for children to safely crawl or walk. And so they were often being carried and held or placed on soft surfaces. And those kinds of delays can have lifelong consequences for children who are so vulnerable at such a young age.
big difference between where we were living before and living now in VSSR Chavez, I think it's just space. We live in a 4-room apartment, so we didn't have that before. 2.5 restrooms compared to 1 restroom, and having 5 members share 1 restroom, it's a lot. So now each of us have our own room. We have more privacy, more time to study. Even I think the tension level between our parents and even between ourselves has decreased significantly because we just have more space. We need time to be by ourselves. We can just go to a room. We have that space for ourselves that we didn't have before.
Through the migrant program, we have great resources, and we try to provide additional resources throughout the community. And if the teachers becomes aware of those needs, then we can ourselves definitely push the students to into better housing, better medical, dental, vision, and that will in turn eventually will have the student feeling better about themselves.
What goes on the community room is that every time when you get from school, you could do your homework. Sometimes they have parties right there, and sometimes we have activities with other teachers to dance and play and other games.
Like first, we do our homework and they're like tutors or something like that. They come and help. And after you're done, you could do activities like you could color.
Pues en el lugar que yo vivo es muy tranquilo. Usualmente sí los niños pueden salir a jugar.
At VSSR Chavez now there's more place, for the kids to gather. We have a community center, and just all around there's more place. They have a small playground for them, so they can play there safely, out of the harm's way, out of the cars and stuff passing by.
Y ahora estoy en un programa después de escuela y me ayuda mucho porque allí hay maestros, me ayudan y es donde estamos en silencio, no hay mucho ruido. My other house only had 1 bedroom and one bathroom, and some people needed to sleep in the bed, some on the floor and some on the living room. And now everybody has their own room. I have my own room, and well, now we're living happy.
In VSSR Chavez, I think everybody should have a chance to live like that. It's a really fun place to live.